Un, dos, tres, sin estrés, muéstrame esos pasos, te cuento hasta 10 y ven. Yo sé que tú quieres moverlo sin pena, ven. Sin estrés, muéstrame esos pasos.
Hello, my name is Lilian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. So lately, I've been getting so many DMs from you guys asking me which method is best for maintaining locks. So in today's video, we are going to be talking all about that. I'll be sharing with you guys different methods that you can use to maintain your locks. I'll be talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of all the methods, and then at the end of this video, I'm going to be telling you guys which method is best. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. First off, let's talk about all the different methods that are available for you to use to maintain your locks. Now, the first method that we're going to be talking about is retwisting. I feel like this is the most common method that you can possibly use to maintain your locks, and because like that is kind of like the easiest on the list of the way. Like, you don't need any special skill to retwist your locks. Like, all you have to do is take your locks and basically turn it and turn it and turn it and turn it until when it is twisted enough. Then you can use like maybe a clip or something to hold it in place, or you can put it in twists or braids, just hold it in place till it dries. You basically do it on wet hair, right? And then you wait till it dries, and then your hair is basically retwisted. Of all the popular methods of retwisting, of maintaining your locks, retwisting your locks is most likely going to give you the thickest result. So if you want thicker hair, if you want your locks to get thicker over time, like as thick as possible, and you want to use any of the popular methods that are available to maintain your locks, retwisting will most likely give you the thickest results. Another advantage of retwisting over all the other methods is that retwisting is very, very easy. So you don't need to learn any special skill or anything, and you really cannot get retwisting wrong. Like some of the other methods, like some of the other methods I'm going to be sharing in this video, if you do it wrong, you can mess up your locks, right? But when it comes to retwisting, like you can't, like, even if there's really you can't really make mistake when it comes to retwisting, you know. So it's pretty easy. It's very, very easy to do, and it will most likely give you thicker locks. Another advantage of retwisting is that I feel like I kind of like the look of retwisted hair, especially when it's not done too tight. But that's just my opinion. So that's another advantage of retwisting. Now, the disadvantage of retwisting your locks is that it does not last at all. For some people, it lasts for as long as maybe a day or 2 days, you know. But ideally, retwisting lasts about 2 weeks to about 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, you know. And then after that, your hair is back to being frizzy and poofy and all over the place, you know. So if you're someone that you want your hair to always look, and it's not really advisable for you to retwist your hair too often, like too frequently, like once a week or once a month, you know, it's advised that you space your retwist as long as possible, just to help your locks to, you know, be healthier in general, because retwisting too often will mean that you're over manipulating your locks, and that can cause damage along the line. So retwisting does not last. So if you go the route of retwisting, just know that for the most part of your lock journey, your roots are going to be poofy and they are going to be like frizzy and stuff like that. Another thing I want to say here is that when people talk about retwisting, when people talk about maintaining locks, people also talk about palm rolling and locksmithing and the likes. Those are techniques that are used for retwisting, you know. So it's not like palm rolling is a special different kind of technique of maintaining locks, and like locksmithing is like a special different kind of method. Like both of them are kind of like techniques that people use to kind of like put the length of the locks in place while they retwist. So both of them still fall under the category of retwisting your locks. Now that we've talked about retwisting, let's move on to the other method that you can use to maintain your lock, and that is another very popular method, that is interlocking. So if you don't want to retwist your lock, another option that you have is interlocking. Now, interlocking, one of the advantages of interlocking your locks is that it lasts really, really long. Like it's probably the method that will last the longest. You know, it lasts really, really long. If you interlock your locks now, it can take months before your locks start to need another interlocking, you know. And the thing about interlocking is that your hair is going to be like, if you constantly have a routine or like a regimen of interlocking your locks are probably going to be less frizzy, and you know, that kind of thing. So that's another advantage of interlocking. It lasts very long. It will give you neat looking locks, in the sense that your locks are not going to be frizzy as much, because like your hair is really put in place, like it is you know, it is tamed. Like with interlocking, your locks are going to be tamed, you know, really tamed. So if you're someone that you want your locks to always look perfect, interlocking may be an option for you, because it lasts very long and then it gives very neat results. Neat results, right? Now the disadvantage of interlocking is that you're most likely going to have skinnier locks as opposed to if you retwist your locks. So if you compare retwisted locks, all things being equal, retwisted locks tend to be thicker than interlocked locks. So that's just a general rule, you know, for that. So if you're someone that thickness is very important to you, then interlocking may not be the best option for you, because it will make your locks a little bit skinnier. It will make your locks more skinny than if you went the route of retwisting. Now I should also say that there are different techniques of interlocking. You have the 2-point rotation, the 3-point rotation, the 4-point rotation, 4-point rotation, you know. So depending on which method you use will determine on how skinny your locks are going to be. So if you're someone that usually use the 2-point rotation, of course your locks are going to be much thicker than someone who uses like the 3-point rotation or like the 4-point rotation. Go ahead, there are so many videos on YouTube that will teach you, that will explain to you what I mean by the 2-point rotation and 3-point rotation. But briefly, 2-point rotation is basically you take the technique for interlocking your hair is basically tying your locks, right? So you take your lock, you have your roots where you have loose hair. So you take your lock, you push it into the root of your hair, bring it out, right? You take it again, push it in another direction through the roots, bring it out. Like that's the technique of interlocking. I don't want to do it on my hair because I don't want to interlock my hair, so I can't really show you guys. But if you go on YouTube, you see so many tutorials on how to interlock your locks. So depending on which rotation you go for will determine how thick your locks are going to be. Now the last and final method that is popular that you can use to maintain your locks is the crochet method. Now with this method, you basically take a crochet needle. There's a special lock crochet needle. It looks a lot like the crochet needle that we use for our crochet hairstyles, our crochet box braids and things like that. But for locks, it's kind of it's kind of smaller. That there are different sizes actually. But I'll put a picture here on the screen to show you guys what it looks like. But you basically take a crochet needle and then you kind of like put into your hair, and what you're kind of doing is you're locking, like you're connecting, you know, the strands of your hair such that it becomes locked manually. So you're not waiting for your locks for your hair, the roots of your hair, to go through the normal locking process. Like when it comes to retwisting, you're basically twisting your hair, but you're allowing your hair to go through the natural locking process. You're allowing your locks, like the roots of your hair, to lock when it's supposed to lock, to go through the journey of locking, right? For interlocking, you're basically tying your hair right? So you're tying your hair, and what this means is that your hair remains tied until when it goes through the process of locking itself, right? Now with the crochet method, you're basically manually locking your hair, right? Of which, even after doing that, your hair is still going to go through some of the, you know, process of locking, because our hair is constantly growing and shedding and stuff like that, and all that process generally helps to lock our hair. So no matter the method you use, your hair still has a role to play in locking itself, right? But the crochet method, basically you're using a crochet needle to connect the strands of your hair such that as soon as you step out of if you go to a loctician to get your hair done, as soon as you step out of the salon, the root of your hair is going to look like it's already locked, right? Now the advantage of using the crochet method is that this also gives really neat results. So I would say that there's a tie between the interlocking and the crochet. When you use a crochet needle, you have neat results like instantly. Another advantage is that it lasts very long. Like when using the crochet method, really lasts long, depending on who does your hair, like depending on the expertise of the person doing it, right? But most times using the crochet method generally lasts longer, and it lasts very long, and it gives you neat looking locks. When I say neat looking locks, I mean locks that are like free from frizz and things like that. So those are the advantages of using the crochet method. Now the disadvantage of using the crochet method is that it's depending on who is doing it and depending on how tight it is locked, it can give you skinny locks, right? So how skinny your locks are going to be depends on how tight you are doing the crochet. I've seen several people who use the crochet method and who still end up having thick locks because the person that is locking the hair with the crochet needle, it locks it in a friendly manner, in such a way that it just does a little bit of locking but still gives room for the hair to do its thing, and so the hair still bulks up and fluffs up and becomes thicker, you know, over time. But many times, many locticians, when they use that crochet needle, they just, you know, they go ahead and lock and lock and lock and lock until there's no space in the lock anymore, and that kind of like keeps the locks compact such that it doesn't grow as thick as it possibly can. Now that we've talked about all the methods and all the disadvantages, let's talk about which method is best. Now to be honest, I cannot come and tell you this method is best or this method is worse, right? And each method, like I said earlier, all the methods have their advantages and their disadvantages. Now depending on how you choose to do your hair and how often you choose to do it, like each method can give you healthy looking locks, right? It doesn't mean that one method is going to be damaging and the other method is not going to be damaging. Like you can damage your locks with retwisting, you can also damage your locks with interlocking, you can also damage your locks with crochet, just like you can have healthy looking locks with all the methods, depending on how you choose to do it and how often you choose to do it. However, the best method I would say is actually what I would say. There are methods that may be best for you depending on your hair, your goals for your locks, the size of your locks, you know, your lifestyle and different things like that. Those are the things that you consider to know which method is actually going to be best for you. Now, things you want to pay attention to: the size of your locks. Now, if your locks are very, very small, retwisting your locks may not be the best option, because the thing about small locks, like really small locks, like micro locks, is that your chances of marrying is a lot higher. The smaller your locks, the higher your chances of your locks marrying, right? So if you have locks like micro locks, you have to always be ahead of your game. Like you can't really freeform, because if you freeform your locks are going to marry and they're going to merge. So you need to have a schedule, like a routine for maintaining your locks. Now with micro locks or like really small locks, it's actually a lot of work for you to maintain your locks, and then after like 2 weeks it has gone back to being frizzy and all, and then your locks are starting to marry. And that's why most people who have really small locks like micro locks tend to go for interlocking. So it's like many people, like if they have micro locks, it's like there's no argument, it has to be interlocking, because that's actually the method that lasts the longest, and because you have so many locks that you have to maintain, that's just more reasonable, right? So that's one thing you need to look at. Another thing you want to look at is your goals for your locks, right? So if you want your locks to be thick, of course you want to you're going to tend towards the method that is going to give you the thicker result, or like the thickest result, right? Another thing is, how do you want your locks to look? Are you really against frizz? If you cannot stand frizz, then obviously you want to go for a method that is going to give you less frizz. Now if you don't mind the frizz, of course you know that that's not really important to you, then you can look at other things that are important to you and decide which method will be best. So like I said, there's really no best method, but it just depends on which method is best for you. Let's go ahead and talk about which method I like to use. Now I don't use any of those methods. Those of you that have been watching my videos for a while, you guys know that I don't use any of those methods. Like the method I use is somewhere in between retwisting and freeforming. So what I do is I really don't twist my hair, and that's why you see my hair basically looks like this all year long, even when I just maintained it, right? And that's because I like the thick roots. So what I do is I basically take my locks, and then the frizz that is around it, I loosely wrap it around the lock. So I have a more detailed video where I show you guys how I maintain my locks. I'm going to link that video up in the iCards and also in the description box, so that if you're interested, you can go ahead and check it out. Now I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I hope this video helps you to decide which method is going to be best for you. Let me know down in the comment section which method you like to use to maintain your locks. I'll be waiting for you guys in the comment section. So with that, we come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if this is your first time on my channel and you'd like to see more videos from me, you'd like to see how my locks progress, I make so many videos about locks, and I also make videos about loose natural hair. So even if you have loose natural hair, you're still going to find some of my content helpful. So go ahead and subscribe, and make sure you share this video with your family and your friends and anyone you think that may find it helpful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.
Que brinda la vida y que nos hace tan feliz.